Leadership is, I believe, a responsibility that's been given to some people to lead other people to find who they truly are. A lot of people think it's to make them better employees. I think it's to help people find who they were created to be. Because if you help people find who they're created to be, you'll actually help them find fulfillment that you'll never find in another person or a job. And I think one of the biggest ways to change the world is to actually have better trained leaders running businesses, because they spend more time at work than anywhere else. So a great leader could impact somebody's life more than almost any other person.
Welcome to another episode of the A1 Experience. I'm here with my buddy Beau Vincent. What's up, bro?
What is up, man?
How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me in.
Hey, I'm glad you're here from all the way from Ohio.
Ohio.
Ohio? What part of Ohio?
Suburb of Cleveland.
Cleveland. Okay.
South of Hudson. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you guys don't know Beau, he is a fellow agency owner just like myself. Beau Vincent is a 4-year agency owner, has grown an agency to $6 million, potentially going to be over $10 million here in the very near future. We'll talk about that. Just about 10 staff, writing over 200 items a month. He is the host of the Conviction of a Leader podcast and soon to be YouTube channel. He is a father. He's a coach, a father of 3 boys.
3 boys, 3 sons.
Husband, and an awesome man of God, and an incredible leader. Beau, thanks for joining us.
Dude, thank you.
Yeah.
Make me sound good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Man, so Beau and I have been friends for a while.
Yeah.
We're also even, if you guys don't know, we're also co-hosting the C8 Summit coming up in June.
Can't wait.
Yeah,
it's gonna
man.
be a blast, man.
Yeah.
Are you excited?
I'm pumped, man. It's gonna be right before our baby's born. So,
right. So there could be some.
I might need to dip like on a whim if I have to,
Yeah.
but
Which I think we would understand.
Yeah, I might be like, I gotta go. You know, what if I'm like during my presentation?
Yeah.
Yeah. But Beau and I become really good friends. We're in a group chat called the Crazy 8, 8 insurance agency owners,
Right.
like-minded. We're all equally as driven, rock stars in our own ways.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to know Beau over the last couple of years, and it's just been a pleasure. I feel like you make me better, in ways that you don't realize, and so I'm excited to dive into it. So tell my audience about your story.
About my story, man, it's a long story, but I'll be as brief but as detailed as I can be. So for 18 years, I've been a leader as an authority, like a manager, right?
Yeah.
But my father was a business owner, and he started his business in his 30s, which was a parallel with my life, which I didn't realize until I thought about it a couple of years ago. And I said, dude, I'm starting a business around the same age my father started a business. But I worked for somebody who grew their business, went from a general manager all the way to district, regional, ran several states for a big retail company, and was blessed to be able to lead up to 600 people, 50 million in revenue, and then leave that and buy a business or start a business for myself in insurance. And I was in New York City, and I don't know if I've told this story. I don't know if you've ever heard the story, but I was in New York City on, what is Memorial Day, the beginning of the year, Memorial Day, or September range?
Yeah, September.
Somewhere in that?
Yep,
okay.
yep.
So September, I'm in New York City, and a motorcycle flies by me on the Bronx Expressway, and it's dark out, and you just hear this motorcycle zoom fly by, right? And then everybody stops in front of us, slams on their brakes, and it was like, whoa, what's going on in New York City? Why is everything stopping? So we got out in the car in front of us, said, did you see that motorcyclist? I said, absolutely. They said, no, did you see what happened? I said, no. It ran into the car in front of us and didn't realize it, and he shot off of it like a rocket, off of the crotch rocket, and he flew. And you know the green signs on the highway, they say like, New York City, 3 miles, Bronx, Brooklyn, 3 miles. So he flew off, and it was dark out, like I was saying. So they didn't know where he went, because he shot off of his motorcycle. And I'd been going through my mind saying, I want to buy a business, but what should I do? And I felt like I landed on insurance, and it wasn't sexy. It didn't seem cool. I didn't know any insurance agents or owners of an insurance agency, but it felt like a God thing because I landed on it. But I was like, no, I want to stay in retail, because I was in some cool retail. I was in footwear, and I got to meet cool people, travel around America, but also get really cool shoes. And I had a good job, and it was hard to leave with 3 kids, and I was in my dream home. So this weekend, I'm seeing my cousin that coincidentally lives here now in Vegas, who I just saw yesterday. Well, my sister found this gentleman that flew off of his motorcycle, and he was laying below the sign. And when I got up to him, I realized his shoes were missing. And I flipped up his visor, and I could see his face, and it was probably what you could imagine it looked like. And I was the only one that would go close to him. Everybody else was freaked out. And I was like, is there any nurses or doctors? There was none. So looked down, saw no shoes, flipped up his visor, and he had stuff coming out of his face and nose. And I just put my hand on his chest, and he wasn't breathing, but I could feel a faint heartbeat. So I'll be honest, man, I just prayed for him, and then he died. And people were freaking out. There was somebody like in the background. You ever like seen a movie like that or something like that happen? Somebody in the background was like, "Oh my God!" like screamed and just gave you shivers. Like, so he unfortunately passed away. But like I said, I looked down and I said he had no shoes on, and I felt like it was a sign from God. Took it as a sign of like, God wasn't trying to get me into insurance by letting this gentleman die, but he took something bad, and I got a good message out of it, which is that I should go into insurance, because at the end of your life, shoes didn't really matter, did it? What shoes you had on. So I thought about, like, is he going to leave his family in a better place? Did he have debt on that motorcycle? Did he have life insurance? Is he going to have to do is his family going to have to do a GoFundMe to take care of him? So that's where it started, and that's when I decided that day that insurance was what I was going to do. And then the following year, I was able to go on a spring break. So we're talking 6 months later, I went on spring break with a friend that went ahead of me. And we've talked about this. It's nice to find a mentor that's went ahead. It kind of shows you the journey and helps you through the path. Well, one of my buddies from the big retail company I worked with, he's about 8 years older than me, always kind of been like a mentor / friend. He went into the exclusive insurance world and showed me the way, went on vacation with him and realized, man, you are the least stressed I've ever seen, and you still got money. Because, sometimes people will give up money to have less stress. But no, went on vacation with him, and I said, this is it. So I made the call to the company that I wanted to buy an agency with. And 6 months later, bought an agency, October 2019, and zero staff member. And we went all the way up to where we're at today from there. So started at, first year, I think we were right around $700K. Premium, all the way to where we're at today 4 years later. So 10x growth in 4 years. And I didn't know insurance before that. I was in footwear retail, so at a high level. And that's my story from start to finish. And I wanted to do something that I could do a legacy with, because I went through some processes with some other companies or carriers to be an agent, and you don't get to own it. You don't own the economic interest. You can't sell it, can't keep it. I didn't know insurance. I didn't want to go independent. I needed the support to learn insurance. So landed on this exclusive agency path, and I wanted an opportunity to leave a legacy for my kids. Not only through showing them that I was not a slave to the money of a corporation, that I would chase my own dreams that God laid on my heart, but also that I had the opportunity to bring them into my business or give it to them someday or sell it to them. Mm-hmm. So that's the journey, man.
Well, that's awesome, man. Crazy story. Mine's isn't nearly as deep as that one, right?
I like to joke around, that, but I get pretty deep, because to me, like, a lot of things have deeper meanings, right?
Absolutely.
So
it's all about kind of like what the meaning that we can find in the events that happen, for sure.
I think, not a coincidence, right? Like, very few things happen by coincidence. I don't think anything, actually. Like us going to Durango and meet, were you there? You weren't at C8, but that was part of like me meeting the other C8 people, and you were part of that. Mm-hmm. And then we met in Huntington, Alabama. Huntsville, Alabama. Yep. My bad. But
So one of the questions that I have for you, because when I think about you, you're doing a lot of things with leadership.
Yeah.
When I think about you, I think about leadership. And that's good from a branding perspective, from the leader that you are, but also your podcast. I think that's a big part of that. So what is it, what is it about, or let me ask you this, what does leadership mean to you?
Leadership is, I believe, a responsibility that's been given to some people to lead other people to find who they truly are. So I think it's my responsibility to help other people that I'm leading, whether they are employees, team members, family, sons, to help them find who they really are, who they were created to be, so they can find fulfillment. A lot of people think it's to make them better employees. I think it's to help people find who they were created to be, because if you help people find who they're created to be, you'll actually help them find fulfillment that you'll never find in another person or a job. It's deeper.
Yeah.
So I think that's what leadership means to me.
Early on, what got you so fascinated with leadership?
It's funny because I went into sales in the beginning and I was told I was a great salesman. But then I realized that other people were following that model or whatever it was, right? So people naturally started to follow me. Actually, if you go way far back, being the oldest sibling of four, and my dad had some problems in his life, I was kind of thrusted in addictions that I was thrusted to more of a leadership role. Being the oldest, having two younger brothers and a sister, but also in sports. So I was captain of the tennis team, which is hilarious to talk about because I was in other sports and left those in high school and decided to do tennis. And I always say I did really well because I was one of the best athletes in tennis, where all the football players were in track and the baseball players. So I went into tennis, but got to a taste of that too. But my dad taught me something that was so powerful still. As many like warts and addictions that he had, he taught me some really good, really like life lessons at a young age. But one of them was like, he came up to me when I was mowing the lawn, and I talked about this the other day. That's why it's fresh in my memory. It was maybe 16, and he came out and he grabbed the lawnmower as I was push mowing the yard, and he's like, "Hey, I'm not going to let you mow the yard like this." And I'm like, "What? Like what?" He's like, "Look at it. It's horrible." And he was a perfectionist, and he was a hard worker. And he said, "I'm not letting you leave my name on my yard because you carry my last name, the Vincent name." So it was about having pride and ownership in your name, and your reputation. Character means a lot, even though he kind of didn't have the best one later on. But it was important to learn those life lessons and carry them into being a business owner and a podcast and a coach and a father. I want to make sure that I look at my character, which is very important to me. My last name, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay. For me, it was listening to John Maxwell while delivering pizzas.
Oh, nice.
I used to deliver pizzas, and I did a network marketing business at that period of my time of life.
Yeah.
And there was this whole educational database where you could download CDs.
Oh, yeah.
Or burn the audio onto a CD.
And then put it in your car.
I had this whole CD
Yeah.
disc,
Yeah.
old school. Younger people might not know about it, but burning these CDs and just driving around listening to John Maxwell on leadership.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even leading people at that point. It was just leading this pizza to my next delivery house.
Yeah. And I definitely think like it just started at a young age with me of like kind of thrusted into leadership. But then when it came to a career, I guess like modeled the behavior from a non-leadership role, right? And that's what we want all of our team members to be a leader, because leadership to me, I learned this a while back, but leadership is not a title. Leadership is a choice. People can freely decide to follow other people. Like I always use this example, like you think of like a big artist, right? Can we say artist names on here? Like Kanye West, Taylor Swift.
Anybody.
Kim Kardashian, people just freely follow them. They have no authority over their life, but they're a leader of millions of people. Decide to follow them, what they do, what they buy, where they go. So I realized that, you have influence with whatever you do. And leadership was just a choice. So I worked hard and had great results, and other people around me noticed and kind of told me, "Hey, you're pretty good at this and other people can learn from you." So I started to realize like, yeah, I actually kind of like it.
Yeah.
So I like the responsibility more than anything, right? So like the responsibility that was put on my shoulders, because I perform well with a little bit of pressure. Mm-hmm. Comfort is not good for me.
Yeah.
Do you agree? Comfort good for you?
Yeah, I pitched a permanent tent in being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So it's
right.
And I can't stay in comfort for too long, and then I go and I create chaos. And
I think so in the world, a lot of leaders like tell us to think about being uncomfortable all the time, and I think that there is let me word it this way. I think I should never be complacent but I should also be content. So what I mean by that is like complacent would be like, I've made it, I'm done. This is what it is. I'm at the top. I'm no longer a student. I'm an expert. I know everything about leadership. I know everything about business. I got all the money that I wanted. I've accomplished everything that I seeked out to. And then you become kind of lazy, complacent, right? You lose track that you wanted to start a business to impact your family or others, right? We lose track of those things. But the other side is to be content, saying that, look at what I've been blessed with. God has blessed you with this beautiful building I'm in today. Like you come in and you say, man, I'm content. If this is all that God gave me, this is it. I'm content.
Good. I'm good with this.
But I'm not going to go sit in my office and do nothing and wait around and just say this is it. So contentment and complacency are like opposites. We want to not be complacent and content at the same time. We want to be uncomfortable but content, saying that there could be more. And I'm not perfect, so I could still improve as a person.
Yeah. So, that's good.
Yeah.
So, talk about it's the name of your podcast. I want to know why it's important for a leader to have conviction.
Yeah, man. It's a good question. So, conviction is a strongly held belief. And I think that if you don't have something that you hold near and dear to your heart, that, like for me, I want to stick to the things that I feel like God has called me to do as a leader. And one of them, I believe that God asked me, I believe, to train up leaders to be better than I in less time. So I've had leaders in the past that wanted me. You think about your past in the bank or in even like delivering pizzas. Those leaders, a lot of those leaders wanted you to do the path they did and say, oh, I was a delivery driver for a year, then I was an assistant manager in the restaurant, and then I was a general manager a year later. And they want you to kind of go through the same path, trials and tribulations they went through, instead of helping you around those. Yes, you should experience defeat and loss along that way. But if I have the ability to train you what took me 18 years to learn in 18 months to 3 years, whatever, then I'm going to do my best to train you and show you those things as fast as I can, but also making sure that you retain those things. So that's what I think I was called to do. So those convictions you hold like near and dear, because if you don't have a conviction, I feel like you'll fall for everything. So I have convictions of, what I believe I've been called to do and how to lead other people. And it's led me. And if you don't have convictions, like I said, I think you will fall to the world and to whatever anybody calls or wants you to do. So it's become a filter, my convictions. Yeah. So I run them through my filter of convictions. So if you don't have convictions, you are going to probably fail and make decisions that you'll look back on and say, why did I do that? That's not really who I wanted to be or what I wanted my business to be like. And I think that I want to seek to be a man of worth, not success, which because I've offered worth, I found success. But I believe if I seeked success only, I'd probably find it, but be alone with nobody to celebrate. So my conviction is to offer worth out to other people through leadership, because I believe this, Nick, and I want you to think about this. Are you changing people's lives that work here? Mm-hmm. Are you? I'm asking. Okay. Yeah, I think you are.
Trying.
I think you are. And you've provided the opportunity, and you provide the tools and the training and the support. And you could change somebody from the last generation to their generation and then their kids moving forward. And I think one of the biggest ways to change the world is to actually have better trained leaders running businesses, because they spend more time at work than anywhere else. So a great leader could impact somebody's life more than almost any other person in their life. So a boss/leader that's doing a great job can change the world through the families. Because you think, how many employees do you have, Nick? Let me interview for a second.
A little over 20.
20. And how many of them have kids, spouses, girlfriends, domestic partners?
I want to say maybe 8 of them have kids.
So let's just take a stab and say 50-some people you're impacted by them working here.
Right.
You've impacted. Mm-hmm. Now, out of those 50, some of them are going to improve their life even more because of the opportunity you've provided their family members here and the encouragement. And they're going to look up to you, and they're going to see what their parents have done, or brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, kids have done. And you've maybe changed their life for generations to come. Yeah. So from one generation, they could have been in a negative mindset, more of a poverty mindset, not necessarily poor, but had a poverty mindset, and you've helped change that.
I wanted to add something. One of my good friends, Will, Will.
Yeah, I know Will. Love Will.
Will owns a bunch of
Shout
Subways.
out to Will.
He owns a bunch of Subways, and he he is training his team
Yeah.
and preparing them at this entry-level job
Yes.
for the future through accountability, through standards, and through making sure that a store's profitable and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting because Will and I both came from working at Subway.
Mm-hmm.
And the things that we learned and competed back in the day really have carried over with us. Like little things like making sure the front line didn't look like crap.
Right.
Making sure there wasn't,
Yeah.
it was wiped down, the veggies were filled up, the presentation was good. We used to make sure we competed. Like if there was a line out to the door,
Yeah.
we wanted to clear that line out as fast as possible.
Of course.
And so it was interesting to hear him say that he's trying to make sure that these kids are better prepared for their next opportunities
Right.
and things like that, because that's exactly kind of how it impacted us,
Right.
in a weird way. So I know sometimes we can discount the impact that we have
Of course.
on people,
Yeah.
on our team members. A lot of times, even if you're not, if like somebody, you hear it all the time that money isn't the most important thing that people are
Right.
getting from a job or career. It's the things that they're learning and the things, so just never discount that, I suppose is where I'm getting at. Never
Yeah.
discount the role that you're in right now
impact,
and
yeah.
how that can snowball into bigger and better things. So
And it's 100% true. And like, I've been blessed to work with, like, if you understand retail, which you do, in Subway,
not too
fast
much.
food,
Yeah.
like it's similar, right? A lot of entry level jobs. Well, I mean, if I had 600 employees in a given year, and let's say turnover could be 75% in retail, I'm just kind of taking a stab, but that's, what would that be, like 450 new people every year?
Right.
For 12 years. So you think about how many people I've been able to touch, train, interview, fire, develop, motivate. I've had people that I've had to let go by being a man of my word, meaning like, I told you this was your final warning. We wrote it down, had to let them go, where there was some bitterness when I termed them. But then later on in life, they've come back and apologized or say, thank you for doing that. It really impacted my life. And I'm like, really? So I can think of somebody, you want to hear something crazy? I actually terminated somebody on Christmas, the week of Christmas. It was one of the hardest. He was somebody that I used to be a peer with, and then I became his boss, leader. And he broke a policy, and I went in and I found it on like December 20th. He lied to my face. And I suspended him and then termed him right around Christmas. And it was one of the hardest things I ever did. And he hated my guts. Hated it. We were, as peers, we were boys. And then he became my leader in my district. I had to term him. And it sucks sometimes to be a leader, right? It can be lonely. It can be hard to stick to your word. You want to say, well, I said that, but I hope that you wouldn't actually do it. So it was more of a threat. But now I got to stick to my word if I want to be a man of my word. Or other people are going to say, Beau's word doesn't mean anything. I can do what I want around here. So to term him with 2 kids was one of the hardest things ever. And he hated my guts. And you want to hear what's crazy? His kids went to my wife's dentist office where she worked, and they wouldn't even talk to her. They wouldn't talk to her, acknowledge her. So it impacted her too by me sticking to that. But what I'm getting to is that eventually he reached out and bridged, and he apologized, but also said thank you, which it just blew my mind. So I think sometimes doing the right thing in leadership is extremely hard, and we don't know if it'll ever be right with that person. And ultimately, we think, what if I fire them and they don't have Christmas? Could I have waited till the new year? Sometimes you can't wait. You know that. Sometimes you have to make a decision, and I think that was one of those tough decisions in my past that I had to make. But it all worked its way out. And in his life, he ended up getting a better job, which is crazy, but good.
Yeah. I'm learning that sometimes you got to let people, and this might be extreme, but sometimes you got to let people hit almost like a rock bottom
I
for
agree.
them to actually change. And
So
it's hard
true.
to contribute to that, or
Yeah.
it's hard to, because you don't know if he was going to go downhill after that,
Don't know.
you know?
I don't. And that's tough. Toughest thing is to watch somebody spiral downhill. Now, my slogan that I trademarked, do you know what it is?
I know what it is.
What is it? Do you know? Can you
I like
can you say it?
insurance. No, we love insurance, but we love people more.
Okay, you heard it. Good job. So no, good. That means it's done. I've done well marketing it, but actually it was just a mantra in our agency. So I believe, so when COVID hit, I was 3 months in, and I thought about this mantra I've been saying: we love insurance, we love people more. But now I have to show it. Do I shudder and terminate a bunch of employees and protect myself, my own income, or do I keep them secure, make them feel safe? I'm going to take care of them, do everything I can for them to still have income and provide for the family. Because you would agree, at the beginning of COVID, we had no idea what was going to happen. We didn't know if this was going to shut down the world completely all the way, that people were going to be broke. I mean, if you let your mind run, I did during that time. Like, what if I lay off these people and then they're in soup lines trying to get food because the world is, completely gone. So I made a decision to live by that mantra and say, I'm going to show you I love insurance, but I love you more. So it's not about what you sell for me. So when you terminate somebody by being, what I've learned is that you can be unemotional and emotional at the same time. Unemotional being like, leave your opinion of why somebody did something out of it. It doesn't deserve to be in that accountability situation. Stick to the truth, man. Truth is, I told you if you did this, this would happen, and you did it. Mm-hmm. I don't need to tell you, I think you don't care. I think you're not listening to me. I think you don't respect me. Those need to be left out of it because it doesn't matter. Truth is, the facts are, and the truth is, I told you not to do this, and you did. And I had all the tools, support to help you not do that.
Yeah.
And you decided to do it. So you got to stick to it, right? But then after that termination, is there any way to show people you still love them? That it wasn't like, because the truth is this, most people will love you as much as you make for them. It's true, right? And we all want to feel better than that, don't you? Like, you think about your last job and career. When you were on fire, they loved you. You had a bad week, they're saying, Nick, what happened, man? You were in banking. Nick, what happened? You had a rough month. What's going on here? So we think about our own team and say, hey, you had 11 straight good months. You got a bad month. And now I'm saying, what's wrong with you? What the hell are you doing? Versus us showing them that we care and want to help them find what happened as an opportunity for them to grow and grow from that, right? Not give up on them and abandon them in the time they maybe need it the most, because they provided for us as leaders in business quite a bit. So
when you pull somebody aside for a coaching session, right? Let's just say they're not where they need to be.
Yeah.
Right. What's the first thing you're asking? What does a coaching session with Beau Vincent look like?
So I ask a lot of questions. It's the truth, and I think it's the best way to go about it. So I learned this a long time ago, that Nick, when I go into a coaching session or I want to diagnose something, I want you to think of like a doctor. Okay, you hurt your shoulder a little bit, right? So if a doctor assumed he knew what happened to your shoulder, no X-rays, no MRIs, no real questions, you tell him a couple things, and he says, I know what happened. You have a torn rotator cuff. Mm-hmm. But you don't. And he misdiagnoses it. So he gives you a surgery to fix a torn rotator cuff, but it doesn't actually fix the problem. So guess what's left now? The problem. So when we misdiagnose, we give the wrong treatment. And when we have the wrong treatment, the problem is still there. So you need to, in a coaching session, understand, first and foremost, my thought is this. I'm going into a coaching session assuming positive intent. If Nick made a mistake, if he fell short, I'm going to assume positive intent, not negative. Negative would say Nick is taking advantage of the business, the profit, the money, clocking in, not working. So I remove that. Go in, assume positive intent, one, then ask questions to help them figure out what the real diagnosis is. That way I can put together a treatment plan of training to assess the problem. So you ask questions like, what happened? It's pretty broad, right? So give the facts, right? Facts are, we have a pyramid of this, this, and this, and you performed at this level. What do you think happened? And if they give you a line of like BS, right? Or an excuse, hey, I'm not looking for excuses. I'm looking to help you. So if I can help you figure out your opportunity, I can help you fix it. But if not, you may continue to have these same results. And if you have the same results, then unfortunately you won't be able to work here. So I want to help you find the solution, find the problem. Because when you can find the problem, a lot of times you can root that problem, grab by the roots, pull it out, give them a treatment, get them on a whole new path. Because so many times we go into coaching sessions and we want to assume we know. I know what's wrong with you. You're taking advantage. And they're like, what if you said to somebody, hey, you're not making enough phone calls? And they say, Yeah, you're right. I'm lazy. But they just don't know how to work their lead management or CRM system to find the right leads to dial.
Right.
So I think it's just slowing down, asking questions, pulling it out. So a real coaching session's about an hour, about 15 minutes of how are you doing, where are you at in life, how do you feel about your career, about 15 minutes of talking about what they learned from the last session, and 30 minutes on what they're going to work on in training for from now till the next session. So yeah, that's what it looks like.
Some good stuff.
Thanks, man.
Great leaders ask great questions.
Great.
It's a good book.
I've never read it.
Yeah, John Maxwell.
Oh, I do like John Maxwell.
Yeah.
I do respect him, like him also. So I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Great questions.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
All right, so what leaders do you look up to? Who are some exceptional leaders?
Well,
People that have impacted
people,
you?
I know how people can be, but I don't really care. So I don't read as many books as most people would probably think. They're like, man, he's got a lot of knowledge. And a lot of it has come from trial and error. I take online classes too. So instead of reading books, sometimes I decide to go on like Harvard Online or some of these online offerings for certificates, and I'll take classes instead of read a book because I'm interested in learning and growing from knowledge. Sometimes I don't want to hear somebody's 4 steps. I'd like to just learn the fundamentals of what somebody thinks leadership is. But leaders that I look up to. So my dad was a troubled man, if I can be honest, like had some troubles. But some of the key fundamentals that he taught me in life and my mom taught me started with them, and they led a household, whether it was exceptional at times or not. They were leaders in our household, and we learn from the best leaders and we learn from the worst leaders. It's the leaders in the middle that get lost. Would you agree? They were just there. They were like, hey, Nick, how are you? And they disappeared. They weren't bad. They weren't good, though. So you didn't really get anything from them. I've gained from the worst leaders in my life. I've gained from the best. I like Jesus, like from the Bible, because a lot of people say, so if I'm going to read the book, man, read a book, I'm like, and I haven't read, if I'm going to claim to be a Christian or follower of Christ, I don't read the Bible, but I read all these books. Who am I? I'm a hypocrite, right? So when I have time to read, I read the Bible. And quite frankly, my 3 keys to leadership that I'm teaching in my leadership academy, teach it, lead it, and expect it. I created these over a decade ago, and I started teaching them in retail to all my leaders, and they worked. Then I started teaching them insurance, and they worked again. I started to realize, people are people, and they are the same. Like a kid is still a person. An adult is still a person. People are people, and most people are very similar. Okay, we were all created very similarly. So I believe I created those steps. You got to be a good teacher, got to be a good leader, and then you have to expect people to follow. And one night I had a dream, and it literally was like, you ever have a dream where you're like, was that a dream or a thought? Because you thought about it and talked about it so much. Well, it felt like it was like after Jesus. Jesus was a great teacher. He was a great leader. And then he said, now go sin no more. So I've put those into the way that I lead people, is that I should train them well, model the behavior by leadership, and then expect it. But when people fail, I know they're going to fail. I already know they're going to fail. Like, don't you expect when you train somebody, you have to think they're not perfect. They're going to fail at some point. It's the level of like, how did they fail? Why did they fail? So assessing the heart in those times versus the actions sometimes. So I have more leeway and lenience in that side of the grace at the end, because I'm trying to see what happened and where their heart is, and can it be fixed?
Yeah.
If it can't be fixed, dude, you can ask anybody in my agency, because I'm a man of my word. I will turn people on the spot if they say, I don't want to be in sales anymore. Well, Nick, I appreciate you working for me. Have a good one.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't want to do this job anymore. Are you sure? Because I can't change that. But if you want to do it, I can help you. Do you want to change?
Yeah.
Okay? So Jesus was one. And honestly, I have a mentor. His name's Marion Koblenz. Been a great mentor. He's won Community Business Leader of the Year multiple times. He's retired now. He actually happens to be my brother-in-law's father, which is all a big circle of connectedness. So I've seeked out some male leaders ahead of me because of the lack of leadership I think I got from my father. And my wife has been a great leader and backbone to me and my kids and our household, because like you've done a lot in your life already, and I think I look up to you in a lot of ways because you've done a lot at a younger age than me. But also, you're going to see how much more a great wife will propel you into doing great things for your family and other people. So it's going to be cool to see your journey change as you've gotten married and gonna have kids. Like I love watching your journey and being able to cheer you along because I'm excited to see what you're gonna do with that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Those are some great leaders that I've looked up to. And I have plenty more I could talk about, but those are the first two that came to mind.
I like how you started off with, I like Jesus. It was just how you said it.
And I think some people are going to be like, oh, podcast off. So, but the truth is that I think it's important to show other people that what it's like on that side versus just being a hypocritical, judgmental, quote unquote Christian.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, the more I'm learning about Jesus, the more I am inspired by the kind of man that he was. So,
I love that.
I agree with that. And then also, I have a guy that I found out through my managers that he has another passion that he's pursuing.
What's that?
Right?
Yeah.
Comedy.
Oh yeah.
Right?
I know him. Yeah.
And I found out that in a morning huddle, he badmouthed sales, was like, I don't like sales. Like, I can't wait to get out of this.
Oh.
So I pulled him aside and I said, look, I want you to win. I want you to win like expeditiously in sales so you can pursue what you were created to do.
Yeah.
But don't badmouth sales. Like don't talk shit about what you're doing.
Exactly.
Like,
it's a bad example for other.
Especially while you're sucking.
Yeah.
Like if you're not having a good month, like you can badmouth sales.
Yeah.
If you're crushing it.
Right.
You can be like, man, I freaking hate this half the time.
I hate it, but you're crushing it.
Like I don't.
Right.
I really don't like doing sales, but I'm doing what I have to do until I can do what I want to do. But while you're sucking, you can't say that. Especially when you're an influential person in the office. The other people are listening to you.
Very looked up to, yeah.
So
respected.
I found that out and I was just like, oh yeah, no more of that. Not even sarcastically.
Yeah.
Don't badmouth sales when that's what you do.
And he is a comedian. So it's like checking like, hey, were you serious?
The most important thing was not while you're having a bad month.
Exactly.
You can say whatever you want, sarcastically when you're crushing it, But so when you said I don't want to do sales anymore, that made me think about that because I think you should set somebody free if their heart's not in it, right?
They can make money anywhere.
Yeah.
Almost anywhere, right? It doesn't have to be here. But I also can be respectful when I let people go. And I think as a business owner, it's another level than a leader, right? Because we own the business. And if we let it, it can become extremely personal. You took advantage of my money. Yeah. It comes out like that.
You got to watch yourself.
Yeah, because I thankfully ran somebody else's business for so long,
I wrote that down. Assume positive intent. It's really powerful.
Negative,
It's really powerful.
Because
sometimes
it'll change your outlook.
If you're in a negative state, you assume negative.
Oh yeah.
It's like you almost project what you're going through.
Yep. It's true.
You gotta watch. You gotta check yourself.
And like the thing is, like, let's play it out for a second. Let's say he actually believed he hated sales deep down. Well, actually, we take it back one more step because he thought about it before he said it. So if you think about that Chinese philosopher that said, I don't remember who it is, but he said, watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. Watch your character, it becomes your destiny. So your destiny is all 100% related back to your thought. So so for me, I would be saying, let's think about your natural thoughts. This job has given you the opportunity to be able to afford to go out and do stand-up comedy. Because if you were just doing stand-up comedy alone without this job, could you be able to pursue that? So look at it as a way of changing the first thought. And that's the hardest thing to do. You can't change changing a destiny, people think is extremely hard, but actually it starts with changing your thoughts first, which is one of the hardest things to harness. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Because we're our biggest critique and critic.
We think 80,000 thoughts a day or something wild.
God. Without really,
crazy.
We don't even have to really think about it. Like when I walked in, I didn't look at your team members and have to think about saying hi. I just said hi.
Yeah.
But that's a thought that happens subconsciously.
Like you look at the jacket, it's like, well, that's a nice jacket. That's a nice chain. Look, that's some blingy gold on your neck right now.
Is it hanging out good? Yeah. See, Randall, is it good out there?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
last point is regarding sales. It's like I try to encourage this to everybody. Like sales, it just changes what you're selling. Like we're all in sales, baby. Mm-hmm. Like we're all in sales. Like you think it stops at this next level? No, you're gonna have to sell yourself on stage.
Yeah.
You're going to have to sell yourself to
100%.
that next event, that next relationship.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to go and shake
you sold
hands.
yourself to your wife.
Yeah.
in a way, not money, but yes,
Yeah.
she bought in that you were a man that she could see being with.
Right. Absolutely.
We have to sell to everybody.
You got to sell your kids.
My wife, yeah. You
got to sell your kids on listening.
I know what I'm
to
talking
you know?
about. Listen.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, you ever try to? Well, you're gonna see. I was gonna say, you ever try to coach your kids? Trying to coach my kids in sports is one of the hardest things, especially when they say things like, "Dad, you didn't even play the sport." Dad, you weren't. You know what I mean? Dad, you're not a college baseball player. What are you gonna tell me about baseball? So. That's a tough thing, but yes.
That's a wild one. I don't know how I'd react.
Oh, it's tough. It's tough.
What do you know about this?
Yeah, what do you know?
You weren't athletic.
Yeah. You weren't an athlete.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
It is true, dude. I look at my kids some days and I'm like, you are such a jerk sometimes. It's like, but at the same time, it's like, I can handle that. Because if you can handle a kid talking back to you and being rude, you can handle almost anybody. Because...
Oh my goodness, that's some wild stuff.
I put the food on your plate.
Yeah.
You talk to me like that. But yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be some fun time.
I have a saying that I want to relate back to that. So I have a book of one-liners. That's why I brought my iPad out, because sometimes I want to look at it to refresh my memory. But I've created these one-liners that I use consistently. But one of them is a thought that I took from a couple different people and meshed it into one. Selling is not actually about convincing. Selling is actually about fulfilling people's wants and needs. When you understand their wants and needs, that's actually how you make sales. So sometimes people have a bad taste in their mouth because they think sales is all about convincing people to buy something they don't really need or want. But if we can change the fundamental side of selling to think that if I talk to somebody today and I find out Nick is married, gonna have a kid, owns a home and a business, I can fulfill the needs and protect him by providing insurance to protect his assets, his future, his finances, so I can connect with him. And all I'm doing now is fulfilling the needs that he has in his life, versus we think about convincing people to buy things they don't need. So sometimes it's just fundamental, and they've had a bad taste in their mouth from a previous leader who convinced them, which is sold them, right? And convinced them instead of showed them that selling is really just about figuring out people's wants and needs and then fulfilling them, which is true.
It's interesting. You can sell somebody's mindset
Yeah.
on the opposite. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like if I'm a salesperson that doesn't believe in insurance,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And what it does for you.
Right.
you.
I'm choosing to believe that insurance doesn't work.
Right.
And that took some sort of level of like
Something happened. Somebody said something. Maybe you paid a lot. You had a claim,
but
bad experience.
But you bought that mindset.
Yes.
You're buying something.
Yeah. Always. Right? Somebody's always selling. And I always tell my staff that too. Somebody's always selling.
Yeah.
So if they don't buy from you, they sold you that they weren't buying and that you didn't sell and convince them, or educate them correctly on the product.
Yeah.
So they sold you. Objections are just them selling.
Yeah. I love this quote. It said, says, no one likes to be sold, but everyone's buying.
Yeah. So true. I like that.
Everyone's buying.
Everyone is buying. And most of the time, people don't realize. And I think that's where I think you and I have learned to love sales, from the side of like, when you naturally interact with somebody and you're somehow able to sell within the natural interactions, is what I've learned is that, if I can open up and build rapport, find a common interest or ground somehow, and find out about them, because people love to talk about what? I'm talking because I love to talk about myself.
Yeah.
We love to talk about ourselves. When you find what they love to talk about and you can somehow ensure or help add value to that part of their life, and then let them know, Nick, I care about protecting you, your soon-to-be kid, and your business, Nick, because that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you. Mm-hmm. But because you told me this, and this, I have to tell you, I want to educate you on this and make sure that I protect everything for you in your future, because you know what? Insurance isn't for your best days. It's for your worst days, right?
Mic drop.
Well,
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're in Ohio, you know who to get your
call me
insurance.
for insurance, Vincent Family Insurance. No.
No, that's really good. Let's move on here. So I want to know what the toughest moment of your entrepreneurial journey has been.
Well, I mean, each step had its challenges where I'm like, I don't know if I can make it to the next peak of the mountain because maybe I should just stay here and build camp and just be fine with this. So I think one of my biggest challenges has been that balance. Like I said, sometimes what I say to inspire other people is what inspired me. So I repeat it a lot so I can hear it.
Yeah.
Complacency and contentment, right? I needed to learn that I can be future driven because one of my strongest strengths is actually being future driven, being able to see a dream and go after it. But what it has created or did create in my past was to be not content with what I've been blessed with or where I was at. So not being able to stop, be present, and appreciate where I've come from and what I've done or what God has blessed me with. So learning to stop and to appreciate where you're at today, but to not give up and settle, but to then push on. So almost like to erect a statue and say, I am blessed to be at $6.5 million after 4 years, because if I wasn't here, I wouldn't get to where I'm going, which is 10 million now, which is 15, 20 employees. So I think it's important to stop, appreciate where we're at, remember where we came from, but more importantly, we look forward to where we're going next. But because of our past, I think we're uniquely gifted, each of us, to decide our future instead of regret our past. I learned from my past and my failures on what am I going to do next. I've been down this road, or I have mentors that have told me they've been down this road. So my biggest challenge has been just being present and being able to appreciate what I have today. And that if this is it, if I died today, could I say I did my best and I was present with Nick today? Or was I on my phone? When I get home from this trip, can I be present with my kids? So being present and not thinking about that, because what we learned as business owners too, the other side of this coin is the work-life balance, which I don't believe in. And I used to teach it. And then I figured out it was a lie. For us, especially leaders, business owners, salaried employees, it becomes extremely hard. There's an invisible gray line that's always moving. So what I learned is that it's work-life integration. How do I integrate life and work together? Because I own this business. It's not just a business I own and run, but it is my life. Would you agree? It's my life. This podcast is your life. Yeah. Okay, to act like it's like you can shut it off and that people should shut off their life when they get here. No, how do they integrate their life and how do they push forward when things are good or not good in their life, right? If stand-up takes off for him, is he going to disappear immediately? If stand-up is not doing good, is he depressed at work all the time and not able to step into the next level of his career? So understanding that, wow, so be present. Don't always be stuck in the future. We should let the future drive us, but appreciate where we're at today. And the other side, too, is to understand how to have a work-life balance, which I call work-life integration. Because last summer, man, I'll tell you the success from this. I went on a 2-week vacation. Never have done that. 2 weeks with 3 kids. Okay, they have sports and school and life and everything. So we took them for 2 weeks to the ocean in Hilton Head, and we were there, which you may not even know Hilton Head. It's on the other coast. We're on the West Coast for all you people that listen to me. Those that listen to Nick, I mean, they're all over the world. So we're on the West Coast of America right now. We got to make it known because there's people across the world listening to you. So, West Coast of America. I was on the East Coast, but went for 2 weeks oceanfront, dude. It was a blessing. You know what I did every morning? I woke up, did push-ups, worked out, calisthenic, and then I did my emails, took care of things for 2-3 hours, and I'm done by 8 or 9 a.m. every day. I was able to figure out a balance and a delegation to have this work-life integration so that I can do 2-week, 3-week vacations. Maybe have a summer home someday, take my kids there. So to learn how to work that into, and it's at every level because perspective is their reality. So if your single employee thinks they're really busy, they are really busy in their own head. That's all they know. So each step is learning how do I integrate work and life and being able to appreciate where I'm at today and not be so far in the future every day.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's good. Before I get into this last question, I just want to acknowledge you for the leader that you are, acknowledge your friendship. One thing I noticed about you is
Nice of
You
to
make
say.
people around you feel special. You've done it to me. I catch you doing it. I'm just like, he's just doing that thing, you know? I don't even think you realize you do it.
No.
But yeah, you give a lot of credit. You make people feel special. You make people realize their superpowers. And so that's a way that you lead, and that's why you've been successful in leadership. And so
Thank you.
I just want to acknowledge you for that.
Thank you.
And then the last
Means a lot.
question I have for you is the definition of A1 is of the highest standards, of the highest qualities.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know, for you, what are the 3 standards that you live your life by?
Well, first off, I'm going to say this. I believe I was created to be a man of God, so I want to be his hands and feet. So if I can make somebody feel more important, essentially, it's an extension of what I would like to think God would want me to do. So to make other people feel important. So, and that's 1. 2, put people first, not me. I think that when we have a scarcity mindset versus abundance mindset, so I want to act like I got the world to give, even if I don't. So I want to give everything I can to everybody as an abundance mentality, my kids, my family, my business, my aunts, uncles, cousins, friends like you. Give as much as I can with an abundance mentality, knowing that God's got my back at the end of that. Even if I give it all away, I got more somewhere. So
Got an unlimited supply.
unlimited supply. Because I heard this one time that wealthy people are inherently humble because they know their blessings come from God. Versus thinking that I'm rich and I created this and I got to protect it. So I think that's the one side. So hands and feet, extension. 2, putting other people first, right? And the third one is, those 2 take care of a lot. But the third one is to take care of myself. Okay, so, and that might even be able to be moved up 1 or 2 spots in a sense, because if I don't take care of myself, how can I help anybody? The truth is that those people that struggle the most are struggling to actually take care of themselves when we're being honest. They're struggling to deal with their thoughts, their actions, their habits, and they're stuck. Have you ever felt like you were, the third one is like being in, like, taking care of yourself first. Have you ever felt like you were stuck in the eye of a tornado? So many things going on, or a hurricane, and you just get stuck because everything's pounding, coming at you in all different directions. You don't know where to go. You just kind of get stuck for a while. You're like, I know I need to do this, 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 and this, but I don't want to do anything because I feel like I just am stuck in the middle. So when we learn to take care of ourselves, so what I mean by take care of myself, take care of your mind, take care of your soul, your heart, your spirit, but really like your physical body too, right? You and I work out. We got families, businesses, consulting, coaching, podcasting, and we still find time to make our body a priority. Because we know if we don't take care of ourselves, how could I possibly expect somebody to take care of themselves? So I think that as a leader, we take on this responsibility of like, I need to be the best version of me and grow each day and take care of myself from my body to my mind to my spirit. So that is the third one.
Okay.
So
Awesome. Yeah. Well, Mr. Beau Vincent, you've got an awesome podcast. I want people to check it out.
Yeah.
How else can people find you if they wanted to connect with you?
Yeah, do we have time for me to ask you a question real fast?
What's up, baby?
I want to ask you a question before we go. First off, you've built a phenomenal brand, and what's funny is that when people say brand, and I don't think it means much, but I do think like the brand that you portray is actually you, and I love it. Like you've done such a good job. I've looked up to you. I want to honor you before we're done today. I want to say thank you because, like, dude, when I first met you, I didn't really know you that well, right? But through our conversations and friendship has grown, and I would consider you one of my closest friends now. I look up to you in a lot of ways, and specifically in the brand you've built, which is actually just relaying who you are, who you were created to be. Just you're using that to put out your brand. It's just who you are.
Yeah.
It's who God created you to be. You've done a good job at it, and I appreciate you bringing me on. Whenever I bring on somebody from my podcast, I've vetted them to some degree. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I'm kind of co-signing on them. And I appreciate you co-signing on me and bringing me on. It means a lot to me. Now, to be fair, I brought you on mine about 7 years ago. I'm just kidding. No, it was about a year and a half ago. So, but I've co-signed you and your leadership and your business. And I want to just say thank you because it's a two-way street, man. And you've added a lot of value to my life. And I pray and I'm thankful that you've honored me in this podcast. I hope I continue to add value to your life as a friend. Because, dude, right? If friends are only taking, it's not a real friendship, is it? So we need to give. And here's one thing that I want to say to you is like a lot of people say, you ever heard one of our old mentors or friends say, your best friend wants to see you do great, just not better than him. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's the case in our friendship because, dude, you have excelled. And what it's done for me has helped show me the way. So when you excel, it shows me the way. And you've been very upfront, honest, and transparent. And I want to thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
Yeah.
So I know you're in some.
I would have shook your hand, but
How can they find me?
Yeah.
You can find The Conviction of a Leader. If you find The Conviction of a Leader on all podcast platforms, by the time this comes out, The Conviction of a Leader is also on YouTube. Can't wait for you to see my face because a lot of people say, I got a voice for the radio. So we'll see if people like me as much on YouTube as they do on the podcast platform. So they can find me there. Also, you just type in The Conviction of a Leader on Instagram, Facebook. I'm actually the most active on just my straight up Beau Vincent. Because, it is hard to feed all these other things, different content. And I started to realize I just need to feed the Beau Vincent page. Yeah. And from there, it'll feed the other avenues. But
it does.
Beau Vincent or Beau B. Vinny on Instagram, because they used to call me Vinny. But, yeah, so that's where they can find me and connect with me.
We'll have it listed in the caption, too.
I know you will.
Yeah, brother.
You do the best.
Thank you so much, Beau.
Hey,
love you, man.
Thank you, man. Love you. I appreciate you.
Yes,
thank you to everybody that supports this podcast team because it's done so well. You have a great team that's actually pushed me to make sure that my podcast was at a high level too. I don't want to embarrass you.
No, it looks
you
saucy.
know?
No, it looks good.
Well, thank
man.
you.
Yeah.
You say that means a lot. Appreciate you.
Thank you,
Thanks
bro.
for having me on.
Thank you, guys. If you watched this far, thank you so much. Peace.
Peace.